Can I ask how old you think they all were, or how old they were supposed to be? Because I got the impression they were maybe sort of 16 to 18-year-olds. But James, you thought they were a bit older, didn't you?
I know. I think they are meant to be 16 to 18-year-olds. Like you mentioned, the fact they come onto the train and they see those kids that have just clearly got off like from a prom or something like that. So they're clearly meant to identify with that kind of age group. But they felt and looked a lot older. But I think they probably were meant to be around that age.
Tom, what did you think?
I'd never actually thought of that. I kind of took their age as face value. But yeah, that could be interesting if it's from like a young street kid's point of view rather than being older. But yeah, I hadn't noticed the point of the difference of the people on the prom. I thought that was more the angle in that scene was more they're intimidated by them rather than the kind of juxtaposition between the two lives of I guess the fork in the road of choice you make, which life you want to have. But no, I hadn't really thought about it at that level. I guess why some of these films these cult films, they do badly at the time that they come out, and then it's only over the years people retrospectively kind of latch onto them, don't they, as like a popular movie. So I'm not sure if that was the case with this. I guess I found it quite captivating still as a watch. I quite enjoyed it, if I'm being perfectly honest. I could take it at face value that it was a bad film in that the actors were terrible and dialogue was really poor, but I just kind of enjoyed watching it. I found all the scenes quite interesting. I like the way the gangs were all heavily sort of uniformed. They had face paint on. It kind of almost reminded me of like an old like Shakespearean kind of scenes where everyone's just very like overly clad in their uniforms to emphasise they're from a different side of the argument or something. I quite enjoyed it, and yeah, I mean, it's not a good movie, but like we said, we've spoken about this many times before doing these reviews. I'm going to rate it on enjoyment. So.
I agree with you on the enjoyment factor, but I don't think it was that bad of a movie. I think possibly being a bit too harsh. Like I enjoyed it. I found it quite like thrilling, to be honest, while watching it. I didn't think the writing was that bad either. I agree that some of the acting was terrible and some of the characters were bad, and that can contribute to it. But as an hour and a half film in itself, I actually just really enjoyed it, and I quite liked the journey that they went on, and then ending up at Coney Island, and then when they get off the train at Coney Island, they're like, oh yeah, this is actually what we've been fighting for all this time, and they're kind of looking at it like, oh. It's actually up to everything that they've been doing. They're putting all this time and energy and risking their lives for this little patch of land that they call their area, and they sort of think, what are we doing here? And I thought some of the fight scenes were really good. I really enjoyed the fight in the toilets.
Really? Oh my god!
I thought the fight in the toilets. I really enjoyed it. It's shot in sort of that like way, but I still enjoyed watching it, and I thought that was very good. My one query with the fight scenes is actually the warrior that gets thrown onto the train tracks by the police officer and dies. And he gets hit by a train. I think the handling of death in it is just dreadful. Like I think there's really got to be a different way to address death in it than just be like, another one gone, that's fine, and then not even really acknowledge it or even care.
The fact that they referred to him being hit by a train as wasted, and then someone will be punched in the gut, hit the deck, and be like, he's wasted.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. Like, he's wasted him. Yeah, and then like the leader at the start, the guy who's the leader of the Warriors, you lose him after like 2 minutes, and then they just don't care really. They're just like, I'm the leader now, or no, he's like, but I want to be the war leader or whatever, and it's just like, okay, cool. Like someone has just died, but all right, we'll move on. Like I think the handling of death was really bad, but as a film, I found it quite enjoyable, and I thought the premise was it's simple but effective in that way.
I thought that was one of the main points of the film, was that death was almost kind of worthless, and that life was kind of disposable. It was kind of emphasising the fact that they're living on the margins of society, and they've created this own kind of underworld where they all clearly look kind of drug riddled and living on the streets and everything. So I think I quite like that. I quite like the overuse of the word wasted as well. It was just like another quirk of the film. And I think that was probably the point that they were trying to get across, is that life is kind of more lived on the edge for these people. And
but is there a lesson in there? Is there a lesson in there that's learned? Do they learn a lesson from that in the end? Or is it just trying to convey a message that this is the world that they've created and that's it?
Yeah.
At the end, they don't really learn anything at the end, do they, when they get saved, effectively? I don't know. At the end,
it's quite a living film, but I mean, it's kind of like Mad Max, but just where the whole scene is basically just a chase for the whole movie. And you could kind of say it's the same about that. There's not a lesson. I guess there's like a wider context with Mad Max that everyone knows, but it's that same sort of linear process throughout the whole movie. I can see Jay was smirking that I dare compare it to Mad Max, which is probably in the 9s.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was done. Sorry.
The only thing, there was a sort of a gap in the third quarter that I thought the premise was really interesting. Like I was gripped, and then when they started running, it was quite interesting. It brought in the voiceovers of them being hunted down. It was quite interesting, and then it got to a point where I felt like in a traditional film you would have this big crescendo, right, and then a resolution at the end, and it just didn't happen. It was just a little bit more of the same of them, getting out of situations but not much actually happening. I think that was when the worst of the acting came out, was when they were isolated on their own. There was some of what was meant to be some of the more emotional shots and stuff that just didn't really hit. But then I thought the ending was quite a nice way to wrap it up, and I just felt that third quarter just really didn't deliver a crescendo like it should do in a storyline. Just nothing seemed to happen.
There was one bit in the final scene which I was like, that is terrible. It was when the guy was on the floor and the other gang surround him, and then it like pans out and you just hear him screaming. They're all walking forward, and I'm like, you didn't have that far to walk. That just doesn't make any practical sense of what you'd be falling on top of each other. That bit really jarred me for some reason. That was like, out of everything in the film that had gone before, I was like, well, that doesn't make any practical sense. They trampled him to death.
It's that many people as well. It's that many people in that gang that is sort of like, it looked like there was about 50 of them on that bank, and then they all start closing in on this guy. Like, whoever's on the sixth row back, you're not going to get anywhere near him, so I wouldn't really bother. And then when they're there, they're just before they get interrupted by those guys, they don't realise that they're there, and it gets that really big climax. Then suddenly it's like, oh shit, they're like all there, and they literally all stood like 20 meters away. But it's like, none of you realised the entire time that those guys were like approaching over the hill or anything like that. Small things like that you just have to give an excuse for, given it's probably
there was a bit like Indiana Jones with that rolling ball, where all they had to do was move. So like that bus was chasing them down the middle of the road, and they were just sprinting. And you like, just go to the left or the right.
Yeah. Also, that bus had gear 1 by the looks of it. That they were all managing to out-sprint. That was the bit. I was like, does this guy not have any more revs to go up into the second gear?
And the trains were always just about leaving the station at the right moments as well. In real life that wouldn't be the case. You'd be waiting for about 12 minutes on that platform for a train.
It's interesting how some films filmed then are, age very well and don't seem anywhere near as dated. And then there's some films like that you watch and immediately you're jarred by things like the action and a lot of the... that's probably mainly the action.
It's just the action. Yeah, it was just the action. The action was so poor. Like the way they like throwing punches and guys just going, like throwing themselves like just miles backwards. You could tell it was so stilted. Every single action sequence, and especially that toilet scene guy. I thought that one was so probably.
Well, I enjoyed it. All right, I enjoyed the toilet scene. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
they all kicked ass.
James,
enjoyed
what do you
it.
think was worse combat scenes, Skria or the?
Where Ski like set himself off in fireworks and stuff, didn't he? So,
Oh man.
well,
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we've all got differing opinions on this one. Has anyone got anything else they'd like to add? James, would you like to rip it even more?
No.
James, what did you like about it? What did you like about it?
Okay, things I liked about it. I liked the first 15 minutes of it. I thought were great. Like they actually did a really good job of doing world building at the start of it. Like fully set out an atmosphere and vibe, even just through the opening credits. Like even the little shortcuts where each of the gang members having a little bit to say. I was like, right, okay, I know exactly. That was quite good exposition. I know exactly what's happening here. I know why it's happening. Going to meet up with this I forgot what the main geezer's name is now, the Can You Dig It guy. Anyway, they go and meet him. That's it. Anyway, I was like, okay, I'm quite intrigued by here. I'm liking all the different gangs. It's building up to something. And as soon as the main guy got killed, and I was like, well, he's gone, and there just doesn't seem to be any kind of acknowledgement that this guy has gone, and I thought he was of at least some significance. And then I was kind of like, oh, I've been a bit thrown by this, and it just continued to make me feel a little bit more like, oh wait, no, this isn't what quite I was expecting, and oh god, that's not good acting. And I think by the end of it, I just got more and more and more disengaged from it. But the starting world building, atmosphere, the music, and some of the stylistic kind of elements of it were really good, but overall, I didn't rate the film.
I really actually quite liked the premise that was being laid out by that guy at the start, being like, there are as many gang members, so many police, blah blah blah. We could take this city if we wanted. I was like, oh, that's quite a nice little premise for a film. Obviously, it gets totally sidetracked, but I thought that was actually quite good. So I was a bit disappointed actually that wasn't followed a bit further before something goes bad. But I don't know. Agree to disagree, I think, on this film. Should we see what everyone digged it then?
Yeah.
Right. Hang on. So, Tom, you chose this first. So, can you dig it?
Yeah, I'd give it a 7.4.
Okay, Jem, can you dig it?
7.0.
7.0. Dare I ask, James, can you dig it?
I give 5.
Oh, is that your first rating?
I don't know. I don't think it is. I think Bandits.
We're gonna have to look back in the archives for that one because I can't remember a 5 being given, to be honest, other than by Tom.
I think Bandits around there, but
well,
this was on me a level as same level as Bandit.
Well, I'm gonna dig it. I was gonna dig it a 7.3 because I was thinking back, and I think I gave A River Runs Through It 7.4. It's not quite as good as that.
Leave it.
It's not quite as good as that. So, go on the enjoyment scale. I'll give it a 9, to be honest, I think. Plus 5, 7.3, and then divide it by, there's 4 of us. So 6.6 overall. That's so unfair.
That's low.
I disagree massively with that one.
There must be an anomaly those ratings.
6.6 for the Warriors.
With 5 of us, usually if there's one person that hates it, it gets dragged up more.
Yeah. Hold on a second. Just what did we give the Bandit in the end? What did they get overall?
Oh my god!
This is higher than the Bandit.
6.6 is pretty.
I gave it 2.
Yeah, I think the Bandit's down in the 4s.
Yeah.
4.4.
Well, let's see. Hang on. I'll get the top list.
4.4.
Huh? You gave it a 4.4. Oh, okay. Let me go to the bottom of the top list. 6.6, by the way, puts the Warriors at number 133 on the QTAS top list. And here we go. Right, where is it? Oh, okay, yeah. So it was pretty low down. The Bandit 4.4 overall. Whoa, okay. Yeah. Don't worry, Warriors is better than that. I think 6.6 is unfair, but there we go. James Robbins, you've done your job tonight.